Rob Zombie's Halloween was brutal, but forgettable. The film was nothing special while it was trying to be as over the top as it could. And while I did enjoy parts, that cannot be said for the entirety. Let me explain. Welcome back, I'm Sippin, and the 2007 Rob Zombie remake knew what it wanted to do, and that was to be over the top. But can you blame it? The film was made by Rob Zombie. You know, Rob Zombie? Yeah, that guy. So let's just say it was written in the stars that Michael Myers would have his most intense outing yet in this installment. But is that for the better? Before we get into it, the comment shout out from the previous video goes to Skywalker Butito 6375. Sorry if I mispronounced, but thank you so much for that kind comment. It means the world. Lastly, spoiler warning for the film, obviously. Now, let's get to talking. The movie opens up to a quote by Dr. Sam Loomis, which quickly cuts to a boy in a clown mask. Brothers got on that dollar store version of the clown mask from the original. Unlike the original, we see more of a family dynamic for the Myers family.
It's like here, that's all you do is cry.
Fuck you and sit it on my pole right now.
Wow, what a happy family.
That's all that fucker does is cry.
God, I hate this family. Why is this needed? It's just another example of the movie going further than it needs to. We jump over to Michael at school as he gets bullied by a spy kid. Yeah, you heard me. We are at Michael's school. The movie shows us much more of Michael's family and his childhood, how he became disturbed and turned into evil. It's actually how we meet this movie's version of Loomis. Love the actor, but man, I do not care for his portrayal of Loomis. With that aside, he shows us how Michael has been offing animals lately. Loomis requests a treat and talk to Michael, and upon hearing this, he runs out and away from school. But he has a plan. He follows Junie into the woods and attacks him. Bro beats him down with a stick while wearing his clown mask. In a great but conflicting scene, Michael claims his first victim. It was shot very well, but it changed who Michael's first victim was, and I don't know how I feel about that. I know exactly how I feel about the next scene. Weird. We see Michael on the curb upset that Judith would rather have relations than take him trick-or-treating, while it also cuts back to his mom erotic dancing. Yeah, which for obvious reasons I cannot show. But what I can show is the mask Judith's boyfriend owns. It's the mask. A sleeping Ronnie gets woken up by a recently awoken Michael. He has become pure evil. Though Ronnie was a terrible guy, Judith's boyfriend? Not as terrible, but he meets a similar fate as he goes downstairs and gets Shohei Ohtani to the back of the dome. 2 down already, and he's still not done. He upgrades his mask and stabs his sister Judith, leaving the only one left in the house being his little sister Boo. There's aspects I like and don't like from this. I like the intensity, but I don't like the lack of homage. We didn't get to see the POV this time around.
He can't keep getting away with it!
But overall, it was spooky. What's not spooky is Dewey Riley with this PSA.
Hello, everybody. This is a message from Ty Sippin Ice and me, Dewey.
Please subscribe, like, etc., share with your friends, and enjoy all the incredible horror movie content. My friend Ty's channel.
Thank you.
Smith's Grove, 11 months later. Dr. Loomis has become Michael's psychiatrist. Apparently, Michael doesn't remember what he did, a hint at the evil taking over. I won't lie to you, dude. We are 30 minutes in and still following Kid Michael. Did I turn on the wrong movie or something? Like, where is my Halloween Michael Myers? Anyways, he makes a black mask as that's his favorite color.
Not that it really matters, but black isn't the color.
Okay, dog. He wears it to hide his face. The next few minutes shows us the decline in Michael's mental state. I know he's a serial killer, but it's almost kind of sad watching him decay. It gets so bad that he stops talking altogether. Well, maybe I don't need to feel bad for him, as bro just ends the nurse with a fork. Who I will feel bad for, though, is Deborah Myers, his mom. Broken at the loss of her kids, she chooses to end herself. Hard to watch. 15 years later, guard Ismail and his co-worker prepare Michael for his talk with Loomis. And good lord, has bro turned into a huge dude. Dude has been eating his spinach. Loomis informs him he's moving on from Michael. If I had to guess, it's because bro done became the Steve Jobs of books. Bro really took Michael's tragedy and said, You know what this needs? A published book.
Huh?
Come on, man. What happened to you, Loomis? A group of security officers join up in transferring Michael. But just by looking at the situation, you're gonna need more than that. Bro's an Avenger level threat. As one guard unlocks a door, Michael snaps his chains and puts the beating down on like 5 cops. Dude really pieced them up with ease, acting like he was a pro wrestler or something. Jeez. On the reels, this scene was badass, and it helps ease the notion that I had to wait 40 minutes for this to happen. Like, why would a Halloween movie take 40 minutes for Michael Myers to show up and get to work? Let's be real. Ismail, the guard from earlier, he stumbles upon the mess. It's not a pretty sight. Behind him is Michael Myers, who begins to start cuffing Michael, who was not a fan of that, and takes out the only guard who was good to him.
I was good to you, Wacky.
To this day, I believe that if he had just stepped aside, Michael would have let him live. Like, up until the cuffs, he didn't attack or anything. Me personally, oh, big man Mike, you need to get by? I'm sorry, let me get that door for you. Personally. A fellow doctor calls Loomis to inform us that Michael has escaped the hospital, and it only took him 45 minutes to do so. A trucker named
I'm Joe Grizzly, bitch.
goes to deuce out, but Michael also needs to take the Browns to the Super Bowl, so he bangs on that stall door. In a scene that I still love to this day, Michael barges in and slams Joe's hand and body against the stall wall repeatedly, where neither actors use a stunt double. That's dedication right there. Michael then ends Big Drug Grizzly in order to steal his mechanic's uniform. Michael now needs but one thing, that mask. But wait, we are now 50 minutes in. Ain't we supposed to have like a final girl or something named Lori Mother Truckin' Strode? Well, yes, and we finally meet her and her parents, Cynthia and Mason. The movie finally pays homage to the movie it's remaking by having Tommy Doyle show up and walk alongside Lori. I'm liking it. It's about time. You remember earlier how I mentioned that mask? Yeah, Michael went home and retrieved it from under the floorboards.
He's back!
Like the original, Lori drops off some paperwork at the Myers home, causing that spark of the obsession. Keeping up with the remake theme, we meet Lori's friends at the school, Linda and Jamie Lloyd? Oh no, that's Annie. She's just portrayed by Danielle Harris from parts 4 and 5. Hey, I love Danielle Harris. She's an underrated final girl, so I'm all for it. Michael has begun his stalking phase. The girls leave school and run into said stalker man. I made the joke that the movie was a remake without remaking the movie at all. And now that's all we're getting. How the times have changed. Annie's dad shows up to give her a ride, and holy crap, her dad is Charles Lee Ray, Brad Dourif. This movie really does have some heavy hitters. So no matter what my opinions are on this movie, I gotta give them credit for having such a stellar cast. As night rolls around, Linda and Bob break into the Myers home so they can get all romantical. Afterwards, Bob heads to get them some beer, but something tells me he won't be getting those beers. During this, like the original, Linda calls Lori. On his way back, he gets grabbed by Michael, he lifts him up off the ground and stabs him into the wall, pinning him there. So Michael uses the sheet to pretend to be Bob.
Hi, how are you?
He grabs her from behind and chokes her to death. This whole scene is great, I can't lie, but something about it still can't hold a candle to the original. Bob's death and Linda's were more dramatic and over the top here, but it's just missing that subtlety for me. I don't know. Over at the Strode house, we get to see a nice family dynamic for once. It's actually so refreshing to see.
Finally!
Annie arrives to pick up Lori so they can go babysit for the night. As they leave, Michael Myers arrives. In an actually very quick jump scare, the dad gets one from prime Mike Tyson. He barges in and takes out both of Lori's parents. Such a great scene that gets ruined by, well, just thinking too hard. Like, bro got decked in the teeth. You're actually sitting there trying to get me to believe that the dad didn't see 7'2", 250 pounds of pure muscle walking up. Right. I might be stupid, but I'm that stupid. I mean, no, I'm not that stupid. This Michael Myers must have watched a lot of horror movies, specifically Friday the 13th, because bro learned how to teleport. He's immediately at Lindsay's house after those events at the Strodes. He's watching the movie with Lindsay, but this Michael doesn't kill kids. Instead, he teleports away, probably to Tommy's because that's where Annie and Lindsay are heading. Let's catch up with Loomis for a second. Throughout the movie, he has been trying to find Michael, the evil in Haddonfield. But again, no offense to the actor, this Loomis ain't got nothing on Donald Pleasance's version. Annie and Lindsay arrive, but Annie soon leaves as she has a date with Paul. Does everyone in this movie just want to bump uglies, dude? Like, y'all ain't gotta smash all the time. Just hang out for a bit. Chucky, I mean Sheriff Brackett, calls the Strode house because of what Loomis has been saying. But since no one answered, because yeah, he decides, let's check it out, Loomis, my guy. So they head out. Meanwhile, Paul is doing the deed with Annie as he gets grabbed and finished off like a bag of chips. And Annie also gets attacked, but I can't really show much of it because like most of this movie, it features a topless scene. So yeah, it's a cool fight scene though, if that helps.
We do not care.
Don't know why she had to have her shirt off though. Well, let's just cut over to her dad. He tells us and Loomis that Laurie Strode is actually Baby Boo, Michael's sister.
What? Oh, hell no! Oh, hell no! No!
Fans of the franchise knew it would happen, but in the OG timeline, it happened in the sequel, so it is surprising to get that news this early on. Laurie takes Lindsay back home after their long night, and they find Paul as an ornament and Annie bloody on the ground. Lindsay begins to scream as Laurie checks on Annie. Like, bro, Lindsay, chill. Screaming like you've seen a dead body or something. She runs off screaming for help as Laurie tries to call the police, but the man hiding behind that door is not too fond of that idea. Before he acts though, he admires his work on Paul, as I do as well. The practical effects are phenomenal. Meanwhile, Laurie manages to get a hold of the police, causing Loomis and Brackett to head that way. Michael begins his infamous chase after Laurie in the streets of Haddonfield. A lot is going down right now, right? Yeah, and it won't slow down anytime soon. Trust me though, I'm gonna do my best to make it as smooth as possible. The police arrive, one searches the home while the other tries to convince them to leave the bathroom. Just before she unlocks the door, Michael kills the cop. So much for no one being there, huh?
No, there's no one out here.
You sure about that? You sure about that?
At least the door's locked and he's in. He kidnaps Laurie and heads out. Team Loomis finally arrived to Lindsay's home where Brackett finds his daughter Annie on the verge of death, somehow alive. I was actually surprised the first time I watched this movie to see her somehow actually survive. It was a decent change from the original movie because like I said, Danielle Harris is great, so you will not see me complain. Loomis learns of Michael's locales by Tommy and Lindsay, so off he goes. Laurie awakes in the old Myers home with Linda's body laying in front of her. Michael approaches her, but unlike him, she doesn't know they are siblings. So she screams for mercy as he then drops the knife, falling to his knees and revealing the picture of the two of them from the start of the film. To help her understand, he then takes his mask off, revealing his face. She crawls towards him in order to grab the knife and stab him. Michael's pissed now. I mean, imagine that. Imagine your own sibling stabbing you. Crazy, man. How could she?
Huh?
Get this, as she's running from him, she falls in the one giant hole in the ground. She actually falls into the pool. Come on now. This allows Michael to catch up and close the gap. He circles her in what I believe to be him contemplating. He doesn't know if he should kill her or not. Before he can make his decision though, Loomis arrives. He shoots Michael 3 times until he falls. But wait, I thought he was shot like a lot more than that.
I shot him 6 times!
Oh god, it was. He grabs Laurie and holds her hostage. He drops Laurie and then attacks Loomis, but Laurie is smart, so she goes to hide. Me personally, I would try to get up out of that house. I know, I'd be cooked, but at least I'd try. She ends up getting found because she went for Loomis's gun. Can't say I blame her for trying. I literally said I would try. Remember in the original, the end saw Michael falling over that balcony to the ground below? Yeah, well, it happens here as well, but Laurie goes tumbling as well. She climbs onto the unconscious Michael and unloads the empty clip into Michael, or so we thought. He grabs her hand as she shoots him in the face. Her screams and the image of her and her brother bringing the film to an end. That was Rob Zombie's Halloween, released in 2007. It was as Rob Zombie as you'd imagine. The movie itself wasn't bad. I know for most, that child portion wasn't great, but I actually enjoyed it up until a certain part. It mainly was just too much, in multiple ways. Let me explain. His family dynamic was a little too over the top and sexualized. Didn't care for all of that. Another thing, that portion just in general was way too long. I enjoyed it, but I didn't need 45 minutes of it either. The brutality was amped up and over the top as well, which I enjoyed a lot of that, as I do personally see this version of Michael as one of the scariest iterations we have ever seen. I mean, look at bro, he's an absolute unit. He'd have me shaking in my boots, and that's me being 20 times 5 with y'all. But overall, it's not the worst, but it's certainly not the best. I'd probably rate it closer to the bottom, but I'd give Rob Zombie's Halloween a solid 5.5 out of 10. There's some greatness here, but it gets diluted down by all the unnecessary and over-the-top themes and images. It's a brutal and unforgiving ride, but it's also a forgettable ride, as this entry is never really mentioned much in the fan base. But that's my thoughts on Rob Zombie's Halloween. What are your thoughts? Let me know your ranking down below in the comments. If this movie isn't your favorite Halloween movie, maybe the original Halloween is. To see my review of it, click here. I appreciate you. Stay chill, and I will see you next time.